It was the year of 79 AD, when the Mount Vesuvius eruption cast a dark shadow over the ancient library of Herculaneum, buried for centuries. Scholars believe that these highly valuable scrolls were forever lost to the world, burned in the ashes of the volcano. But this may not be the end of the story of the scrolls. With the help of artificial intelligence and new techniques, the contents of the scrolls are finally starting to be read. Join us while we uncover this new discovery. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe. Since the mid-1700s, numerous attempts were made to decipher some of the less damaged scrolls from Herculaneum. But their attempts were unfortunate. One researcher tried to cut the scrolls in half and scrap away the layers to see the text, and in the process basically destroyed the scroll. Another method they used involved slowly unraveling the scrolls with a special machine, but unfortunately this method was also not very successful. While these 18th and 19th century efforts did allow some researchers to copy some of the words inside, they often damaged or completely destroyed many of the scrolls in the process. But the contents of the not opened scrolls are unknown, with many mysteries inside. These scrolls likely are part of the library of Julius Caesar's father-in-law, and they constitute the largest known surviving library from classical antiquity. Deciphering these texts without damaging them will be a victory to historians and to our collective understanding of the past. Many of the previously opened scrolls reveal Greek philosophy, like some examples by the philosopher Epicurus and also by the philosopher Philodemus, just to give you a few names. To illustrate some of the work of Epicurus, he argued about the Greek mythological gods and his famous arguments, the problem of evil. One of his arguments is that it wasn't possible to exist a god who was at the same time omnipotent, or in other words, have all the powers, omniscient, or in other words, the one who knows everything, and also be good, because evil exists, and if evil exists, a god who knows everything and has the powers to extinguish all the evil will do so. These scrolls were initially discovered in 1752 by workers unearthing the ancient town. The 1,800 papyrus scrolls found there contain books and texts from the 1st and 2nd centuries BC. This papyri has been burned with the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which buried the city together with the texts. For centuries after they were rediscovered, they were in storerooms as unreadable curiosities. But over the past 2 decades, technological developments helped the researchers to get closer to trying to read these fragile scrolls. Yet, it was only with the new technology of artificial intelligence and computing that finally became possible to begin unlocking their secrets without opening them. The researchers, with the support of Silicon Valley investors, came up with the idea of launch what they call the Vesuvius Challenge, where a total prize of $1 million will be paid to developers who come up with programs capable of reading the texts. Approximately 500 to 600 scrolls from Herculaneum remain unopened. Many scrolls are kept in museums across England, France, and Italy. It's hard to estimate as many exist. The scrolls are extremely brittle, and unrolling them is not an option. However, the scientists use computer digitalized tomography to create 3D images of the ancient texts. And then they developed software capable of virtually unrolling the 3D scans, unveiling previously hidden texts. For example, this method was successfully used to read the Imedi scroll, a charred scroll found in the Middle East, revealing texts dating from the 3rd and 4th century AD, which contain parts of the Old Testament of the Bible. But this method alone is not enough for the scrolls burned in the Vesuvius eruption. The ink used on the image scrolls contained metal, which meant the letters were visible in CT scans. But the Herculaneum Scrolls, on the other hand, were written with carbon-based ink. Like for example, a pencil, where the center is made of graphite, a material derived from carbon. Carbon is also the primary material that constitutes any living being, including the plants that the ancient Romans used for the papyrus. This way, making both the ink and the papyrus almost indistinguishable when burned. The carbon element is basically like a Lego piece of nature that can be rearranged in several different ways, and the scientists were hoping that maybe the arrangement of the carbon on the papyrus could be different enough from the arrangement of the carbon on the ink. So the researchers' only alternative was to drastically increase the resolution of the scans. And indeed, at very high resolutions, the scans reveal visible areas where the ink had slightly changed the shape and texture of the fibers of the papyrus. The ink makes the fibers of the papyrus slightly thicker. Based on this, the researchers used machine learning to detect this subtle difference on the carbonized papyrus paper. The first word they found was the Greek word porphyrak, referring to the purple color associated to the Roman emperors. After that, other 3 full lines of text were deciphered. However, the high resolution that makes the process possible also makes the process extremely slow. And in order to decipher this and other texts, the scientists came to the conclusion that they would need other people's help. And with the help of Silicon Valley investors, they created the Vesuvius Challenge, which now counts with nearly 2,000 competitors working tirelessly. Internet users from around the globe joined forces utilizing the team's data, code, and methods, which are all accessible online. In a remarkable way, what was once a puzzle looks like it's close to be solved. The project also counts with a prize of $1 million to be given and shared among the participants. 2 contenders already extracted a new small fragment of the text. One of them is a student from the USA, and the other is a student from Egypt, who is currently in Germany. While they were rewarded for their discoveries, the grand prize awaits for the first individual or team to unveil at least 4 separate passages from 2 specific scrolls, each of them containing a minimum of 140 legible characters by the end of 2023. The competitors are helping to advance the project forward by this new method, but more importantly, it's a collaborative effort for society to preserve our past. And hopefully, soon all scrolls will be readable. Do you think can help this project? Or do you think their efforts will be in vain? Leave your comments. And thank you for watching. Tibi gracias ago pro Vigilabo.